What would you do if you found out your Funko Pop was fake? Throw it in the bin? Have a little tantrum? Well, for me, I turned this into... So the first thing I am going to want to do is I'm going to put a few holes into his feet here and over this side, get some wooden dowels put into them, and then it'll be a little bit easier for mounting them on a new base. So there's a nice couple of holes we can start getting worked with. In this case, the wooden dowels are actually going to be toothpicks. So it can properly set. And there we go. Once the base is done, you can nicely slot in and stay nicely in place. So yeah, this might seem a little bit crazy what I'm going to be doing first, but if you actually look at Dekus, I'll put up on screen, the majority of his hair, the especially undertones, is all black, and then it goes into a more darker green, and when he's in his full cowl mode, of course that kind of brightens it all up a little bit. So because of that, I am going to redo the hair by first going in there and just painting the whole thing black. So the next step I am working on, I've just mixed some of the black directly with one of my darker screens to get that a little bit darker, and I'm going to go in and do two things. I'm going to do some highlights, the first set of highlights slowly building out over onto his hair as well as starting onto the eyes. The goal here is to slowly build up lighter and lighter colours to get that really nice glowing tone all around him and on his hairline. But when because he is going full cowl, we do want that glow from the full cowl effect. I will be leaving in some of the black just to get a nice definition between the different layers of colour. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to get a full, more brighter green colour up and onto the highlights of his hair. I'm going to put little lines in and more onto his eyes, where when he goes full cowl, he gets that like kind of green lightning effect kind of through his eyes. So as you'll be able to see, I'm starting to do this kind of like patchwork effect all over his hair. I'm going to keep the underside sections to the more darker green / black. That's going to give it the shadows and depth to it. I'm going to fade these out a little bit more as I go around. For now, I'm going to go right through and complete all of the bits of hair in this similar kind of style. So I've got the solid green on him over onto his eyes as well and across the top, so it's starting to get a little bit more extra depth to him. But before I get the highlights and the really bright bits on him for his full cowl effect, I am going to start working now on getting some shade done onto his hairline and give some more depth to the skin tone, because the skin tone's a little bit faded at the moment, but if I add some darker tones and it's possibly some slightly lighter tones, I might bring that out just a little bit. So we're going to start by putting a couple of layers onto here. At the same time, that'll get rid of all these extra black horrible bits and where the paint job previously was not very good. So I picked up these little circle bases, the 6cm inside. I've also got 3 or 4 mil thick styrofoam. All I am essentially going to use is just some standard PVA glue to hold it down. And I think that should about do it. I'm going to have to let that dry for about 12-24 hours to make sure the PVA is fully set, and then get this all nicely painted. So there is still quite a lot of work to do on Deku. I've added the first layer of highlights, just start blending it in a little bit. There's still going to be a lot more. I'm going to redo all the scar and of course the eyebrows and these little freckles. But whilst that bit is drying onto the base, I have wanted to get a little bit more texture to it, so I have added on some slate stones in different places as well as little tiny rubble stones, and when I go to paint that, that's just going to give that a little bit more texture. Acrylic is really good for going onto the styrofoam, but I'm just going to prep it a little bit more with a little bit of surface primer just to help out that a little bit more, and this is just going to create that little barrier. So the primer set, and then I put over a coat, or well, 2 coats in the end, of administration grey. That's taken all the, it's still got slight effects of the styrofoam on it, which is nice. I think it still works for the rubble effect. I am now going to add on some darker tones and then we'll put like a wash over the whole thing, and then do a little bit of dry brushing to really get some of the edges before start adding more onto Deku himself. It doesn't sit too bad, there's still a bit more work to do to him. Well, there's still a lot of work to do to him, but sitting in the base, I think it's going to be okay. There's going to be more stuff going around the base, but let's crack on and see where we'll get to. So now it's time to get a few starts of the highlights up onto Deku's hair. So I've just added a little bit of white to the normal green I've been using, and then just going to go around some of the ridge areas and just add highlight tone, just very similar to that. I'm going to do that all the way around. So this is how he is currently looking. The hair is almost there, there's still a little bit to do with the eyes and the face, but the main thing is this base is now almost sorted. I need to put some highlights on and get some glow on there as well to kind of show the glow of Deku's full cowl move. So let's get onto that. So the next bit I'm looking to do is to start actually improving his armor a little bit there, and then afterwards we'll go on to the full cowl effect. I'm first going to do the armor. I'm going to touch up the black and the red a little bit, add some highlights into his gloves, as well as some a little more detail onto his neck piece there. And what I have used, so yeah, definitely one of the more harder bits about this one is since it is already fully built, there's certain sections that the brush is really hard to get to, and at later stages I definitely won't be able to get to that. So what I quickly done was I've added some highlights, like some shades, to the gloves. Added a layer of white. We're going to get the blue lines put onto his glove, and as you notice as well, his full cowl effect has also now been turned into a moot green, which I think already looks a whole lot better. I just wanted to get a quick cover on to see how it looked, and now I'm going to start getting some of the lighter colours to give more of that glow effect and more faded to it. So let's start mixing some of that. Overall, this has turned out absolutely amazing. I'm loving the base. I added some glow paint, about 4 or 5 layers over it. Didn't come out as great as I wanted for the glow, but it still looks absolutely awesome. Very proud of this. Hope you all love it. Definitely going to be more of these kind of builds coming very soon. My name is Daniel. This has been Twisted Geek. Hope you have an awesome week. Cheers.